So, we've got a number 1 deluxe meal. Is there anything else I can get you?
Yeah, I'd also like a good night's sleep.
Excuse me, sir?
You know, the I didn't struggle all night with my uncomfortable CPAP mask, or something like the my wife didn't kick me out to sleep on the couch because of my constant tossing and turning.
Sir, we don't have anything like that here. I think what you're looking for is Inspire. It's an implant that works inside your body to treat sleep apnea without a CPAP. That way you can breathe normally and rest more soundly.
Come on! Oh, he sounds hangry. Inspire is the only FDA-approved sleep apnea treatment of its kind. It's helping tens of thousands of people finally get restful sleep. To learn more, visit InspireSleep.com. That's InspireSleep.com. Inspire, sleep apnea innovation. Inspire is not for everyone. Talk to your doctor to see if it's right for you, and review important safety information at InspireSleep.com.
And good evening. This is Mottek On Money here on 790 KABC. Good evening. We're doing it live right here, weeknights at our new time of the 5 o'clock hour in Los Angeles. Mottek On Money 5 nights a week for you, live on the air here on 790 KABC, streaming live online worldwide at KBC.com, and the on-demand Mottek On Money podcast at KBC.com, Apple, iTunes, all your favorite podcast platforms, and on the socials too at Frank Mottek on Twitter and Instagram. Well, stocks have kicked off the new week with a rally, posting the first day of closing gains in the past 4 trading sessions, coming off a holiday shortened losing first week of the second half of the year. Stocks perking up ahead of a critical reading on inflation for June this week. Investors also focused on the start of the second quarter earnings season. The Dow coming in for a closing gain of 210 points. The S&P 500 perked up 10.5, and the NASDAQ gained just about 25 points. We did hear from some of the Fed folks today, policymakers remaining vigilant about their inflation fight. Inflation coming off that 40-year high that we hit last year. The head of the San Francisco Fed, Dr. Mary Daly, said a couple of additional rate hikes are likely needed this year, as she put it, and that the labor market here in the U.S. remains strong. And one of her colleagues, the Fed president of Cleveland, Loretta Mester, said the central bank needs to raise interest rates further to bring inflation down toward the Fed's 2% target. It's pretty much double that at this point. The latest reading on the economy includes wholesale inventories unchanged in the month of May following a drop in the previous month, indicating businesses are producing or stockpiling fewer goods due to an uncertain economy as recession buzz continues. Consumers having a tough time again at the gas pump. You've been paying higher gas taxes here in California since another 4-cent a gallon hike kicked in on July 1st. That's an increase of 8%. The fuel tax increase, by the way, happens yearly because of a state Senate bill that was signed into law in 2017. Contrary to what the president is saying, the price of gas and oil is not down, with oil hovering at the highest we've seen in a couple of months now, and gas prices more than $1 a gallon higher than when he took office. Meanwhile, California is on the road to ending the sale of new gas-powered vehicles in 13 years. I'll discuss all that tonight with Catherine REHEIS-BOYD, the president of the Western States Petroleum Association. The hot labor summer continues in Los Angeles, with hotel workers in L.A. walking off the job again today for the second time in 2 weeks, and what the union called a second wave of strikes for thousands of housekeepers, cooks, dishwashers, and more, and the hotels accusing the union of being stubborn. We continue to follow that story in the 790 KBC News Department also on that one. L.A.'s crime wave, meanwhile, continues. Supporters of the recall of L.A. County DA George Gascon have filed a new lawsuit demanding certification of the recall petition, alleging tens of thousands of valid voters' signatures were incorrectly and unlawfully rejected by the county registrar recorder's office. I'll discuss the latest on that tonight, and the crime situation with the Honorable Dennis ZINE, former L.A. City Council member, co-chair the recall Gascon effort, as well as a former LAPD sergeant and current reserve LAPD officer with about 55 years of service in the LAPD. But first, on the markets, the economy, cryptos, AI, the whole works. Joining us live now, John NAJARIAN, Dr. J, as he's known, on the major financial networks for many years, and, of course, a great contributor on this program, for decades. Co-founder of Market Rebellion. He's got the laser eyes on, too, following the cryptos. Dr. J, thank you very much for taking the call live with us here tonight on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC. It's a beautiful evening here. Wish you were out here. We could get together one of those great hotels here in the Los Angeles area. Hopefully we'll get to do that soon. First of all, give us your impression of this latest rally here today.
Well, and I'd look forward to that, getting together with you at a hotel that hopefully they get that walk-off or strike settled up. I think the market has been incredibly resilient, given that we've got
both Mester, as you said, speaking about raising rates at least 2 more times. That's certainly part of the Fed's dot plot. And the part that I don't understand, I guess, Frank, is the part about then a full 1% or 100 basis points of cuts that they're planning on in 2024. Now, planning on and actually occurring are 2 different things, but it depends how long they hold rates as high as they can. And it seems likely that we're going to get on July 26th another at least 25 basis point move. And if they really think they needed 2 moves, then perhaps it would be wiser to just give us the 50 and call it a day, then just keep it on pause until they start to get the back-to-school numbers and so forth.
Right. That'll be a big deal for the economy when we get those readings. In the meantime, we did get that pause last month, right? And now they're talking about raising again here at least 2 more times, maybe into the new year as well. In the meantime, the bond market has moved higher. The yield on the 10-year note has moved higher, I should say, with the yield now at 4%. It actually went above 4% last week. What is that telling us here with that recession signal continuing?
Yeah, well, it's something that we've kept our eye on and that many of us think is a harbinger to a recession, of course, when the 2-year surpasses the 10-year and then increases that drift or the difference between those two. The 2-year is now substantially higher than the 10-year, but the 10-year did drop about 1% today. It fell back to 4.00, as you said, and it was up almost 10% last week. So nothing goes straight line up or down. We usually have a jostling back and forth, and that appears to be what we're seeing now. We're still 33 or so. 4.33 was the high within the last year, Frank, for the 10-year, and right now we're at 4. I don't think 4 hurts people as much, but certainly 4.25%, 4.33%. Those are numbers that regional banks don't need that additional pressure brought on them for the portfolio of bonds that they own, because, of course, they own them at much lower yields, which means they're, on paper anyway, losing a lot of money with each move the Fed makes to the upside.
Isn't that something? And historically, the banks had cheered higher rates because they get to charge more, of course, but looks like that dynamic has changed. What about the banks and the regional banks especially? Is that whole so-called crisis over at this point?
Well, obviously it took out a number of banks, First Republic, Silvergate, and so forth, a number of banks that were forced into marriages or just straight out taken out. But that was one of the reasons that in the second quarter, the worst performing sector really was the financials. As we come out of the second quarter and the first half of the year, financials are still down about 2% on the year, while that is far from the worst, though. The healthcare sector is down almost 5%, and the energy sector was down, I believe, close to 9%. So as we migrate through the second half of the year, I would expect healthcare will get a little bit more of a look, as well as energy. And you talked about some of the stresses that are being put on consumers because of either the increase in taxes in California or the fact that crude oil is back now above $73 per barrel. It was just 68, it seems, a week ago. But this is very sticky right around this $70, $73 level. And it seems like that is the floor rather than resistance.
On the air live with John Najarian. And, John, let's get to the exciting stuff now. On the cryptos, we see Bitcoin holding up pretty well. Had been up around, 31K or so. Right now it's still above 30,000 here at 30,441. Ethereum still close to 1,900. Doge hanging in there at 6 cents. Give us an update on how you see what's happening in the crypto world now.
Sure. Well, it's been a very interesting few days for the cryptos, and a lot of that is because
so much focus is back on the gentleman who goes by that two-letter initials, CZ, the head of Binance. And people keep trying to imply that he is as bad or worse than Sam Bankman-Fried. It has yet to materialize that he is, but that kind of chatter a year ago, post FTX meltdown, that would have sent cryptos reeling. And instead, like you said, we're seeing a 1% rally in Bitcoin, 1.5% in Ethereum, and even that Binance coin, the BNB, higher by about 5.5% right now. So I think that speaks to some of the strength in those digital assets. And there are a number of them that are clearly outperforming, and one of them today is definitely Binance.
Very interesting. And what about some of those other altcoins, some that have fallen out of favor and also have gotten the scrutiny of regulators, specifically the SEC, right? Anything else that's on the radar screen?
Well, I think right now you're right that stable coins like Tether, those are getting a good hard look yet again. Barry Silbert, of course, is also being not taken out to the woodshed, but certainly the Winklevoss twins are implying strongly that their lawsuit against him is moving forward with all due speed. So we're going to keep our eye on what goes on in that. But again, I think that once more speaks to the idea that these kinds of headlines would have taken digital assets down 2 to 5% a year ago, and instead just the opposite is happening. So people, I'm not saying that Bitcoin and the rest of these are immune to bad news, but they're certainly climbing the same wall of worry that stocks are climbing.
Very interesting. Yeah, and you referenced that lawsuit, the crypto platform Gemini that was founded by the Winklevoss twins. They have a big following, of course, suing the fellow crypto tycoon and his company, claiming that Gemini's customers were defrauded out of hundreds of millions of dollars. That lawsuit claimed that the CEO, Barry Silbert, orchestrated a scheme of deception to persuade Gemini customers and other depositors to lend huge amounts of cryptocurrency and U.S. dollars. The Daily Beast is reporting that, as well as other outlets. What do you make of this lawsuit? What do you think is going to come of it?
Well, this was something that certainly hurt Voyager. And full disclosure, I had a significant investment in Voyager, so I was.
When picking a commerce platform, you have two choices.
Oh, you piece of.
Or.
Yeah!
I prefer. Don't you? That's the sound of selling on Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform that supercharges your selling. Online, in person, on social media, and beyond. Why battle inferior platforms' weak tools?
You.
Lack of brand control.
That looks like.
And limited integrations.
Would have helped to know this.
Stop leaving sales on the table. Join the millions of businesses around the world growing on Shopify and get the industry-leading tools, from the best converting checkout to powerful order management features. Gain control with code-free site design and harness Shopify's limitless integrations for limitless growth. Shopify.
Less. More.
Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/music23. That's shopify.com/music23. Shopify.com/music23.
Stacking Benjamins with Joe and his good friend OG not only has great financial insight, it's laid back with humor too.
Dollar cost averaging works because everything else doesn't. Let me put that a different way. But dollar cost averaging works every time. Just keep buying.
60% of the time, it works every time.
People spend a lot of time, OG, worrying about when to buy.
This is really simple. You should invest when you have the money, and you should withdraw the money when you need the money. Boom.
There it is.
I believe they call that a mic drop.
The Stacking Benjamin Show, available on YouTube or wherever you listen.
I was one of those persons harmed by its implosion, and they had lent about the same amount of money that the Genesis owners, the Winklevoss twins, as you say, had lent to Three Arrows, or 3AC as it was known, as well as Sam Bankman-Fried. Now, since then, the largest lenders really are indeed many of these Genesis, who gets their activity, if you will, from the fact that they provide these coins for high yields. And the Winklevoss twins are basically going after them, saying that Silbert has a $1.2 million promissory note, and that they say this note is being called and he better have the cash, or in this case, the Bitcoins. And I don't know that Mr. Silbert is a bad actor, but there's certainly some pretty aggressive claims by those twins. Again, the owners and founders of Gemini Exchange, and they're moving an awful lot of their operations offshore because of the regulatory uncertainty here in America.
All right. Thank you for that thorough assessment. We'll continue to follow that closely. And what about AI here? Things moving very, very quickly. NVIDIA pulling back about $3 today, 3 and change to $4.21. Give us an update on what you see happening in the AI world, investment opportunities, and anything cool that you've noticed lately.
Well, I think there's a company out of Norway called Opera, and it's spelled just like it sounds, like the where Pavarotti would step onto stage or whatever, but the initials or the acronym for it is OPRA. That is a company in the AI space that does an awful lot of very interesting things. Not only do they operate artificial intelligence, but they have, as you and I were just chatting about, they have crypto wallets. They have a web browser. They are soup to nuts, a very interesting forward-focused company. They're only about $2.1 or $2.2 billion company, but in the last month, they've gone, or even just the last, let's say, 10 days, the stock has gone up from $17 a share to $24 a share. That's a very significant upside surge. And I think the reason is more and more people are looking at it being a much smaller AI play than, for instance, NVIDIA, and saying, wow, this could be one of those lightning in a bottle kind of trades because they do so much. They're in the right areas right now, both the wallet, the hardware wallets that they have, as well as software, and the fact that they can use AI as a selling point. It doesn't hurt, I suppose, that they're viewed as perhaps a little more stable by being over in Norway. I don't think if they were based in Singapore, Hong Kong, or for that matter, the U.S., they'd be viewed as quite as stable as their home in Norway.
Very interesting. And Meta getting new attention with Threads. One headline I see here from Reuters says Meta's Twitter rival Threads surges to 100 million users faster than ChatGPT. And Meta stock has gotten a lift on this, up more than $3 at $2.94 and change at the close today. Any thoughts about this new platform Threads and Meta launching this thing?
Well, and I went right along with many of the folks out there and opened up my Threads account. It's basically, if you have an Instagram account already, all you got to do is accept the invitation and you have a Threads account. However, just accepting is not the same as daily active or monthly active users, that DAO or MAO, as they are, those acronyms spell out. I think the issue here, Frank, is that an awful lot of people opened up those invitations, and as you say, it was about 100 million people, but it has fallen off dramatically in terms of interactivity. So the thing that both advertisers and users want is interaction with people on any of these social media platforms. If you don't get that, the platform will die, and we've seen examples like MySpace and a host of others that sort of went away very quickly when they didn't get that interaction. So July 6th at 9 in the morning, it hit 100 million. That's in terms of people that have accepted that invitation through Instagram. Today, it had bled all the way off down to, I believe it is, 19 million active users. Now, for something that just launched, that's impressive. But for something that's playing off of Meta's or Facebook's, 5 billion active users, or at least monthly users, this is nothing. I mean, no advertiser is going to go for this unless he can get increased interactivity between the users on the platform. So I'm not trying to throw too much shade on him. I'm just pointing out facts that he's gone from 100 million June 6th to today, 18 or 19 million that are actually using it. Yeah, they downloaded it, but they didn't use it.
Maybe they went back to MySpace. We'll have to do some more research on that.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe they went up to maybe 1 or 2 users on MySpace. Let me ask you this, the big question here, John, before we let you off the hook. Any specific places where you are putting money now and or taking it off the table?
Sure. Today we had a fair amount of activity in some of the stocks that we're seeing a slight bit of easing to the downside. And they might have included Apple, which was one of those, big it's the biggest capitalized stock in America, if not the world, if you count Saudi Aramco. But Apple, they were protecting their positions going into the Pepsi and Delta earnings on Thursday and then the big bank earnings on Friday. They seemingly were protecting some positions in Apple, but we viewed that as a very positive thing because they wouldn't be panicked if there were slippage in the stock, and it was a very slight slippage today. It was right around the $188.50 level. So if Apple gets back up over 190 and 191, I think that's a very positive thing into their latest earnings report, but that's weeks down the line.
All right, and we'll explore whether Apple has bottomed at our next conversation, possibly. John, thank you very much for joining us live here tonight. That is the one and only Dr. J. John NAJARIAN, famous on all of the major financial networks these days, co-founder of Market Rebellion, of course, long-time contributor to this program, and the Laser Eyes on, too. Following the cryptos closely, John, always fantastic to have you with us. Thank you very much for taking the call here tonight.
Thank you, Frank. It's always a pleasure, sir.
Thank you very, very much. Likewise, thank you. Folks, don't give in to that constant joint pain. Take control. Take back your quality of life today with help from QC Kinetics. It's Frank Mottek here, and QC Kinetics is helping people every day here and across the country with their amazing non-surgical treatments that repair and restore your damaged joint tissue. They use the latest advances in regenerative medicine, taking your own body's healing agents and concentrating them right in the area where you have that agonizing pain. This incredible non-invasive approach helps you take back control of your body, relieving the pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, or back. No invasive surgery, no harmful drugs or steroids, and no downtime. Summertime needs to be about having fun, making memories, golfing, hiking, swimming, enjoying the great outdoors. Take control now and start living pain-free again. Call QC Kinetics. Locations in Glendale, the city of Orange, Mission Viejo, and now also in Costa Mesa. Call 213-997-PAIN. That's 213-997-PAIN. 213-997-PAIN. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KABC. Good evening. Chance for you to win something here now. 790 KABC welcomes Bryan Adams. So Happy It Hurts tour with Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. We'll make sure we get run to you on for you tomorrow probably. Coming to the Kia Forum on July 29th. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Right now, caller 9 wins at 1-888-790-5222. For a pair of tickets to the show, if you're caller 9, call now, 1-888-790-5222. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KBC. A rally for the stock market for a change today. The Dow 210 points at 33,944. The S&P 500 of 10 at 4409. And the NASDAQ gained 25 at 13,685. The price of oil perking up 14 cents at 73.13 a barrel. We'll be talking oil shortly with the president of the Western States Petroleum Association. Price of gold down 30 cents at $1930.70 an ounce. Looks like Bitcoin's down about 400 now at 30,425. Ethereum down 12 at 1879, and Doge at 6 cents. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KABC. Inflation still a big issue. We'll be getting new readings on inflation this week. In the meantime, all you have to do is look at the Prices at the gas pump to see inflation on full display. You've been paying higher gas taxes here in California since another 4-cent a gallon hike kicked in on July 1st. That's an increase of 8% on the state gas tax. And the fuel tax increase happens yearly because of a state Senate bill that was signed into law back in 2017. That's not widely known. Guess what? The price of gas here in Los Angeles averaging $4.96 a gallon, 4 cents a gallon higher than just a week ago. $5.30 now the average price for premium, and $5.13 the average for diesel in L.A. That's 6 cents a gallon higher than where it was just a week ago. Let's bring in Captain REHEIS-BOYD now, the president of the Western States Petroleum Association. Thank you very much for joining us live here tonight, and give us an update on how things are going from your vantage point.
Thank you, Frank, and good to be here. As you know, everybody's concerned about increasing cost of transportation fuels at the pump for every consumer. So I think you're aware the Energy Commission of the state is looking at this issue very seriously, and we're also very involved in reporting a lot of information to them right now under the bill SBX 12 that was recently passed. So we're going to be looking into this. There's a fuels transition study that will be going on, which will be, frankly, Frank, really important because all those things that cause the price of gasoline at the pump, including the fact that California is an energy island. We don't have any pipelines that bring crude oil here. We got a lot of crude oil to produce to make refining gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, but of course we can't get permits to produce it. So you got to import it. It costs more. You increase greenhouse gases. I mean, the policy for the state, in my opinion, is in need of a very deep dive into how we're going to get from A to B.
And indeed, it seems Sacramento's solution to high gas prices is higher taxes. That 4-cent a gallon hike impacts consumers. And then, of course, what you just mentioned looks to penalize oil companies for making profits, which is the American way, of course. Remember all that political bluster we heard back in December in Sacramento, and ultimately the Newsom administration announced it will go through the State Energy Commission instead of the state legislature for the so-called windfall profits tax on.
When picking a commerce platform, you have two choices.
Oh, you piece of...
Or...
Yeah!
I prefer... Don't you? That's the sound of selling on Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform that supercharges your selling. Online, in person, on social media, and beyond. Why battle inferior platforms' weak tools?
You...
Lack of brand control.
That looks like...
And limited integrations.
Would have helped to know this.
Stop leaving sales on the table. Join the millions of businesses around the world growing on Shopify and get the industry-leading tools from the best converting checkout to powerful order management features. Gain control with code-free site design and harness Shopify's limitless integrations for limitless growth. Shopify.
Less. More.
Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/music23. That's shopify.com/music23. Shopify.com/music23.
For a limited time, Sweet Deals is offering qualified listeners the vacation of a lifetime. An all-inclusive 5-day, 4-night stay in a suite for just 2 adults and up to 2 children in Cancun, Mexico for just $299. This opportunity is valued at more than $2,600. That's right, a $2,600 vacation for $299, and it's all-inclusive, meaning all your food and drinks are included. Attendance is required at a presentation for Vacation Club ownership, but who cares? There's no purchase necessary. And you have a 30-day money-back guarantee if you change your mind. Do not miss this exclusive luxury vacation offer from SweetDeals.com. $299 for 4 nights at an all-inclusive resort in beautiful Cancun, Mexico. Go to SweetDeals.com right now and snag this once-in-a-lifetime offer. That's SweetDeals.com.
On oil companies. How is that effort going? Obviously, it's going to be extremely complicated, and at the time we were talking, it's widely expected that will actually increase prices here in California.
Yeah, Frank, as we talked before, I'll use a very technical term. We're submitting gazillions amounts of data right now into the Energy Commission. Hopefully they can keep it confidential so that it doesn't impact the market in a negative way. As you know, we are very much cooperating in that process, but we all know it's $1.26 right now per gallon at California than the rest of the nation. And that is not only the taxes that you just referenced, but certainly, the environmental regulations for the low carbon fuel standard, 12 cents, cap and trade, 26 cents, underground storage tank, all the things that I'm not saying are not meritorious, but they all have cost. And so when you look at California, it's expensive to do business here. It's expensive to refine here. We can't produce here. And all of those things have an impact on the price to consumers, which we're all trying to make sure we minimize market volatility.
And the fact is, California is sitting on lots of oil, right? Going back to the history books, 100 years ago, I believe California accounted for 25% of global oil production, right?
Yeah, and what concerns me, Frank, is their resources board right now estimates there's a 3% decline in production. It's 9% as we sit here today. It is a 9% decline in production, not because we don't have it, not because we can't produce it, not because we can't produce it in the most environmentally protective way in the world, because we cannot get permits to do so out of the state of California, which only does one thing: limit supply, increases price.
And there's been talk for decades about getting another refinery built here in California that would help the situation, but is that completely off the table now?
It is off the table. There are 2 refineries right now in the state of California converting to renewable diesel, which is a good thing. I mean, renewable diesel is what the state wants us to do. But when you convert 2 refineries to renewable diesel, guess what you put a constraint on? Gasoline supplies, because they're not making gasoline anymore. By the end of the year, we'll lose 16% production. What does that do? Again, tightened supply has impact on price. So I really hope that we're going to start looking seriously at the permitting challenges, the infrastructure realities, the commercial availability of all the things we're going to be doing in the transition to get from A to B, the cost, the greenhouse gas emissions from beginning to end of all of these technologies, the minerals that we're going to need that are constrained, how we're going to recycle all the batteries. Just there's a lot of questions, Frank, and I'm not saying we're not part of that conversation, because we are, but we really need to have that conversation if we really care about making sure there's not market volatility at the gas pump.
And certainly the politicians immediately point to the oil companies, and you guys come off as villains in all this. But as you just described, it's the policies in Sacramento that obviously are largely creating the situation here.
Yeah, and, we are required every day, Frank, to produce enough diesel, jet fuel, and gasoline to supply transportation fuels to 40 million people driving 36 million internal combustion engines. And regardless of the transition, which we all support, we're all part of it, we still got to do that 24/7. I mean, we don't get the luxury of saying we're not, right? I mean, we got to supply the transportation fuel to keep the economy in California going while we're doing all of this stuff on the transition. So, it's supposed to be a partnership. Sometimes I got to tell you, it doesn't feel that way in the state of California. So I hope we can work through this process with the Energy Commission and come up with the right answers so we can get from A to B affordably. That is the name of the game right now. And I sometimes think that totally gets lost, Frank.
Yeah. And you mentioned California is an island as far as gas is concerned. Just for fun, just now I looked up the gas price in Honolulu, which, of course, is in Hawaii and is indeed an island. And get a load of this. The gas price regular average in Honolulu is $4.57 a gallon. In Los Angeles, it's $4.96 a gallon. 40-cent a gallon difference. Isn't that something?
That is definitely, because they don't have those same policies. I mean, even though that's a high price for Hawaii, usually beats us in the past, right? But these policies are only going one way, and it's not just transportation fuels. It's electricity costs. It's natural gas costs. It's transportation fuel. We are not heading for an affordable transportation system if we don't address these real questions. How do we have enough infrastructure in place to even maintain the refining capacity that we have? Let alone, how do we do that while we're growing into a different economy? It's the details of this that seriously matter, Frank. These are not just aspirational things to talk about. Every community is impacted from the very decisions we find ourselves making today. So that's my plea, is to let's have the real conversations that we need to figure this out right.
Well, thank you very much for having this conversation live with us here on the air tonight and laying it out on the line so that people understand what's going on here in California. Captain REHEIS-BOYD, the president of the Western States Petroleum Association, thank you very much for joining us live here this evening.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you very much. Boom. It's jarring to have a car accident and hard to think clearly when you're hurt. So my friend, attorney Clark Fielding of Fielding Law, created something to help you. It's a guide called Be Prepared Before a Motor Vehicle Accident. The guide is one page, fits in your glove compartment, and gives you everything you need in case you're hurt in an accident. Go to clarkthesharklaw.com and download your free one-page guide and keep it in your glove compartment. Put Clark Fielding's number in your phone under the word accident, so all you have to do is dial the number when you need him. Tell your family and friends to do the same. So if you are injured in an accident, call the one we all trust, attorney Clark Fielding, 833-88-SHARK. That's 833-88-SHARK, 833-88-SHARK. And download the Be Prepared Before a Motor Vehicle Accident Guide at clarkthesharklaw.com. Again, that's clarkthesharklaw.com. clarkthesharklaw.com. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KABC. The L.A. home of Beyonce's mother, Tina Knowles, was burglarized this past week. According to ABC 7, the Los Angeles Police Department reported the incident happened in Hollywood back on July 5th. Nobody was home at the time of the burglary, and police could not say what property was taken from the home. No arrests have been made in that situation. Had a shooting in the Beverly Grove area of Los Angeles over the weekend. And, of course, retail crime, that continues in a big way. The crime wave overall continues. Meanwhile, supporters of the recall of the Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gascon have filed a new lawsuit demanding certification of the recall petition aimed at Gascon, alleging tens of thousands of valid voter signatures were incorrectly and unlawfully rejected by the County Registrar Recorder's Office. And joining us live now, the Honorable Dennis ZINE, former L.A. City Council member and co-chair of the recall Gascon effort, former LAPD sergeant, still a reserve officer with the LAPD with something like 55 years of service to the Los Angeles Police Department. Dennis ZINE, thank you very much for coming to the line and give us an update, first of all, on this recall effort here.
Frank, we have not given up. We will not surrender. We will not give up on this recall campaign. And what we have found and what we're doing in court now is challenging what the Register of Voters has decided. What we submitted originally, 715,833 signatures submitted. They validated 520,050. They discounted 195,750. I'm going to give you some numbers, but the bottom line is we have gone through the process and we have meticulously gone through the signatures. We believe we have sufficient signatures that are validated, and that's what we're in court regarding this particular situation, to validate this recall on the individual who's responsible for prosecuting, not letting criminals go loose and terrorize the community. So what we have found is that they were not accurate. They hired 400 people with no experience to count the signatures, to validate the signatures. And there was a lot of, shall we say, questionable activity by the County Register of Voters. So what we have gone through with court now, and we spent $6 million on this, and I want to thank the people who contributed to this recall to take Gascon out of office. So the numbers are clear. We believe we have sufficient to qualify for the ballot, and I know that the District Attorney, Mr. Gascon, has decided he's going to run for re-election, and we need to stop that to save people the activity when they become a victim of a crime. So the bottom line is we've got the signatures. We believe they're validated. We think the person who was in charge did not do what they were legally required to do, and we're taking this to the court, and hopefully we'll prevail, and then it'll come back on the ballot to make Mr. Gascon the former District Attorney of L.A. County.
Thank you for that update on the Air Live with Dennis ZINE. And it should also be noted, it was a nearly unanimous vote when it happened, when the union representing about 700 L.A. County prosecutors announced that it would support the recall of George Gascon. That was quite significant. And nearly 20, at least 20 cities, right, in Los Angeles County also supported the recall. I remember when the mayor of Beverly Hills went on the air here and announced support for the recall. And in all this, people are wondering what the heck happened here with that recall, and hopefully this lawsuit will get to the bottom of it.
Absolutely. There's overwhelming support. When you think the district attorney of L.A. County has deputies that prosecute cases, and you've got nearly 100% of them who said, we have no confidence in this individual, how can he maintain his stand as the district attorney when he's got a crew of people, dedicated prosecutors, that don't have any confidence and don't want to work for this man because they don't trust him. Now, the victims, and I'm sure there's many people listening to your station right now that have been victimized of crime, whether the converter's stolen, they've been robbed, their home's been burglarized, whatever the case may be. Blame Mr. Gascon for letting these people run loose and terrorize the people of Los Angeles County. 88 cities in this region of Los Angeles County, we have a majority of those cities that have come with us on board to say, we have no confidence in the district attorney. We need someone who's going to do their job of prosecuting. And if you look at San Francisco, what's happened to that, and other parts of this country where you've got these prosecutors that aren't prosecuting, and they're letting people run loose. And we find more and more problems. And you talk to the police officers, they throw their hands up. There's no prosecution. They let people run loose. They don't charge bail. So what we have is a crime trend. And it may come down for a little bit, and it's going to skyrocket again. But our quality of life, the homeless population, all the things pile up. You don't have a prosecutor who's leading the DA's office in Los Angeles County that is doing the job to protect the people who are here, paying their taxes, complying with the law, and all they want to do is live a peaceful life. Gascon is totally contrary to what we all believe is a peaceful environment and a safe environment and a safe city. The City of the Angels. It's not the City of the Angels with Gascon as the district attorney of LA County.
And that is, I'm sure, tough for you to say that, Dennis Zine, giving your decades of service to the City of Angels, and even people with a lot of money who are certainly able to hire security and videos and all that, video cameras. Beyonce's mother burglarized this past week, and of course, the list goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at the Beverly Hills Police Department, if people want to move to a safe place, if you have money and you can afford to live in Beverly Hills, the Beverly Hills Police Department, I met with their chief recently, they have a phenomenal program. They have video cameras throughout the city. They have drones that they launch. They are very concerned. Their council supports the Beverly Hills Police Department. The police officers do a professional job. In fact, the Beverly Hills Police Department is trying to recruit from other departments throughout this region of Southern California. People in Beverly Hills want to be safe. They're paying for the safety. People in L.A. want to be safe. The problem is you don't have a prosecutor here. And what Beverly Hills has done a number of times, they've taken those cases to the federal court. They've bypassed the district attorney in L.A. County. So Beverly Hills can do it. Other cities can do it. LA is a massive territory, and I've got 55 years of law enforcement experience and 12 years in the city council. It can be better. I don't blame the taxpayers. I blame the elected officials, in particular Gascon, when it comes to this criminal activity that's out of control. And it's out of control because of Gascon and his policy of not charging criminals when they should be charged with criminal activity.
The Honorable Dennis Zine, former LA City Council member, the co-chair of the Recall Gascon effort, and, yep, 50-some-odd years of service with the LAPD, former LAPD sergeant, still a reserve officer. Dennis, we salute you for your service to the City of Angels and appreciate the update tonight and look forward to many more updates from you. Thank you very much for taking the call here this evening.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you very much, Dennis Zine. And this is Mottek On Money here on 790 KBC. We'll be back again tomorrow evening at 5 o'clock. The 5 o'clock hour, we'll go through the whole works once again. If you missed any parts of the program tonight, you can also bring up the Mottek On Money podcast on demand at KBC.com. You can also listen to this program streaming live here on KBC.com. This is Mottek On Money on 790 KBC.
So we've got a #1 deluxe meal. Is there anything else I can get you?
Yeah, I'd also like a good night's sleep.
Excuse me, sir?
You know, the I didn't struggle all night with my uncomfortable CPAP mask, or something like the my wife didn't kick me out to sleep on the couch because of my constant tossing and turning.
Sir, we don't have anything like that here. I think what you're looking for is Inspire. It's an implant that works inside your body to treat sleep apnea without a CPAP. That way you can breathe normally and rest more soundly.
Come on! Oh, he sounds angry. Inspire is the only FDA-approved sleep apnea treatment of its kind. It's helping tens of thousands of people finally get restful sleep. To learn more, visit InspireSleep.com. That's InspireSleep.com. Inspire, sleep apnea innovation. Inspire is not for everyone. Talk to your doctor to see if it's right for you and review important safety information at InspireSleep.com.